Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks, with your hosts,
Monica.
Susan.
Ready? As ready as we're going to be. I wonder if we're always going to start these laughing.
Probably. So that's a big old howdy to y'all out there in the podcast world.
God.
Big old howdy, y'all. I remember I had a friend once, this is my little aside, but I had a friend once that we were watching, I don't know, some star party or something that was being live streamed on YouTube. And we were in separate houses. And so she's like, hey, put something in the text and let me see if I can see you. So what did I say? I said, big howdy from Texas.
God. And she knew it was you, didn't she?
That's right, she did.
That's right. Well,
Big howdy. Anyhow,
welcome.
welcome to our, well, I guess this is the second official episode.
Yes. We are Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks,
Oh, that's right.
That's
we are
right.
Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks.
your new favorite podcast.
And if we're not, we're going to be.
That's right. That's right. We're working hard at it.
That's right. We are sweating, actually. I'm sweating.
Okay. I don't know about that, but
I'm perspiring. But anyhow, so today on our episode, we are going to talk about the El Camino de San Antonio missions.
that's really good. She's right. We are going to talk about that. Last podcast, we talked about visiting the San Antonio missions, and we talked about the fact that they were a huge
Huge, Tiny.
cultural impact on San Antonio, and just talked about the history of them, and especially we told you about the cultural heritage site or center. I keep saying site, but it's
Oh,
center.
it's a center. I know. I
Yeah.
think I kept calling it a site, too.
Yeah, me too. But anyway,
those are all kind of attached, right? I mean, in a way, you look at those together because one complements the other, which, again, highly suggests that you go. But as a part of all of that, there's an added bonus here with the El Camino. And one of the things that we really want to talk about is one of the missions is Mission Concepcion. And at Mission Concepcion, there is a pilgrimage center. It's the Padre Margil Pilgrimage Center, where you can learn all about the Camino de Santiago and how we can also contribute to that.
yeah. If you're at Mission,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're at Mission Concepcion, the pilgrimage center, like Susan said, is behind it. It is located at 263 Felisa, and it's usually open Monday through Saturday from 9 to 5. I'm going to tell you, before we go into the actual Camino de San Antonio missions, we're going to talk about the reason that it is considered a Camino, what they call a Camino. There is, for a lot of you, I'm sure you're already familiar with this, but if you're not, I'm going to try to give you a little bit of background.
Walk us through it.
Walk you through it. There is it's not a trail. It is a combination of trails and ways to get to a church in the northern part of Spain, St. James. And most of you are probably used to hearing it being called the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James, or sometimes known as the Way. There was did you ever see the movie The Way with Martin Sheen?
Oh, no, I never saw that.
Really good. Really good. This is the movie that turned me on and how I found out about The Way. It's with Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez.
Oh, both of his sons.
Yes. No, not. I'm
Martin
sorry.
Sheen
I
was on
said
it.
Charlie Sheen.
Oh.
Martin Sheen. My bad. Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez. Charlie Sheen is nowhere near it. I don't think he would have fit into that movie anywhere. But Emilio Estevez, I think, also directed it. And they,
Wow.
my friend and I, who love that movie, went to go see. They just had like the 20th anniversary of it, and we actually got to go see it at the theater, even though I'd seen it on video a few times. But anyway, that's what kind of
Video.
got me. Well, video. It was on
Did you stream it?
DVD.
Oh, DVD.
It was on DVD.
Thought she was on VHS.
Okay, not VHS. But anyway, that's what got me interested in the Way. And it is a goal. I would like to eventually walk the Camino. There's a lot of different paths to get to St. James. The most common one is what they call the Camino Frances, which is the French way. And that starts in a little town that I can't pronounce the name, Saint Jean something or other, but it's basically at the base of the Pyrenees Mountains. And all you people that know about all the Camino stuff, feel free to comment. Just do it nicely.
Please.
Yeah. So it starts at the base of the Pyrenees. You go over that part of France, and then you cut across the northern part of Spain until you get to St. James. That's the most common way. Then there's the Camino Portuguese, which is the Portuguese way, and you start at the southern part of Portugal and then work your way up, kind of along, following the coast up
That's
to
what
St. James.
don't they say that that's like the more picturesque one?
I believe I have read that it's more picturesque. I
It's a
also
little
read that
longer?
it's a little longer, and it's also not quite as traveled as the French way. So, but I'm sure, it sounds gorgeous. I would love to be kind of walking along a coastline. And I say walk, and I use that term very loosely. Okay. I think that this would probably be considered a great hike.
Yeah.
More than a walk. But
I mean, you're still staying at hostels or different places along the way. You're not like outside camping outside necessarily.
right,
So
right. And I think there are there are places where you can rough camp, but for the most part, everybody uses the albergues. And I will explain that a little bit in a second. But the third way, and there may be more. My understanding is there's lots of ways. For example, the France one, there are people that start in Notre Dame and walk
Wow.
all the way down towards the Pyrenees and across Spain. So there's a lot of different ways. The third way is the Camino Inglés, or the English way. And the weird thing about the Camino Inglés
yeah,
is
this one
that
is interesting.
there's actually two starting points. Coruña, I think, is one, and Ferrol is the other one. And they are in Spain. And you're like, well, it's Camino Inglés. Why is it in Spain? Because I guess there were pilgrims that were coming in from England and Ireland, possibly taking a ferry, crossing that part of the ocean and getting to those points. And then from those points in northern Spain, then they made their way down to where St. James is. So that's Camino Inglés. And we're kind of going over this with you because I was really excited, to find out that San Antonio is a part of this, and I'll explain that in a second.
Well, again, my job here, I give context. A little bit of context here is that, so we talked about the missions in the first episode, and the missions became a National Historic Park in 1972 under Jimmy Carter. And, years go on, right? And in 2015, it was recognized as an UNESCO site. What I found interesting about it being recognized as an UNESCO site, which is United Nations Education, Scientific, Cultural,
Organization?
maybe, yeah, or for organization, yeah. It was recognized as that because of, the influence that it has, particularly here in San Antonio, right? And, excuse me, I didn't mean to cough, I got choked up. And so it was recognized in 2015 as an UNESCO site. What's important about that is that the United States was actually instrumental and initiated and proposed the World Heritage Treaty, which was specifically across the world designed to preserve areas of significance around the world. And so the United States, we were the ones that went out there and said, hey, we really need to do this across the world, which is great and wonderful. Now, under UNESCO, the World Heritage Treaty is what sits under the UNESCO umbrella. And then from there in 2018 is now where the mission trail, so to speak, becomes part of this El Camino. But Monica's going to go into more detail about that. But again, thinking about this history, we were a National Historic Park we then became a UNESCO site, which there are 26 UNESCO sites in the United States. So just FYI, we're covering one of them. Became an UNESCO site and then becomes certified as a part of the El Camino.
And I had no idea that UNESCO. I don't know how
I
I've
know.
always said UNESCO. I don't know.
I say UNESCO anyway.
But I had no idea that was something that the U.S. started.
Well, that we started the World Heritage Treaty. We proposed that, initiated that. That then came under this umbrella of the UNESCO, which now governs that across.
Had no idea because for some reason in my head, because I've traveled to Europe several times and seen some UNESCO sites, I don't know why I always thought it was a European thing.
Yeah.
So I am actually
I
kind
always
of
did
like,
too.
wow, way to go, U.S.
Well, we had a hand in like saying, hey, there are places in this world that are worthy of being preserved and to be protected, right?
Yeah.
In places that then, with UNESCO is that UNESCO is really focused on that education, the scientific, and all those kinds of things, right? But that we had a strong hand in that, I think, is something for us to be proud of and to remember.
That's really great. Had no idea.
That's what I'm here for.
So yeah, that's awesome. So I explained a little bit of the way to you, or the Camino de Santiago. So in 2018, and I had no idea that we were part of this.
I didn't either.
So we found out that San Antonio, the missions particularly, and San Fernando Cathedral are part of what they call El Camino de San Antonio missions.
Because, if I could just interrupt you, sorry, but if I could just interrupt you, because it really is about this pilgrimage, right? It's a pilgrimage of these missions getting to the cathedral. And again, San Fernando Cathedral, the oldest operating Catholic church in the United States.
Yeah.
So significant in that this pilgrimage is being recognized.
Yeah, and amazing because this is the only recognized part of the Camino outside of Europe.
That's a big ding deal.
That is a huge deal. I was blown away when I found out about this because not only is this recognized as a part of the Camino, you get credit for walking this Camino towards the big Camino. And I'm going to explain how that works, basically. When you walk the regular Camino, the one in Spain or France or whichever one you're doing, you have what they call an accreditation, accreditation, basically. And it looks something like this. It's like a little folder pamphlet kind of thing, and it's got boxes where you stop at what they call albergas, which are very similar to hostels. But the albergas are made specifically for the pilgrims who are walking this way, the way. And it's a place for the pilgrims to go in, get some rest, maybe do some laundry, eat some food, sleep, wake up, and start again. That's what your pilgrimage is. Your pilgrimage is basically walking. Hiking, walking, whatever you want to call it.
Getting yourself in the right space to do that.
Exactly. It's a pilgrimage. And a lot of people do it for religious reasons. Other people do it for personal reasons. Maybe they're looking at it as a way to get in shape, or maybe they're just using it as a way to, like Susan said, clear some headspace. The average person that walks it or hikes it takes approximately, if they're doing the Camino Frances, and usually that's what I'll be talking about, takes about 30 days of walking. It sounds like a long time. The beauty of it is that you don't have to do it all at once.
Right.
If you're taking a couple of weeks of vacation here and there and you're fitting that in there, as long as you begin your accreditation where you left off, you're going to be able to use that for the entire thing. Okay, so you could start in France, and maybe you only had a week or 2 weeks. You walked, you got to Spain, you stopped. Next summer, you start where you left off, and you finish up. So you get this accreditation. When you get to the end and you get to St. James, there's an office. You turn in your accreditation, and you get what they call a Compostella. And your Compostella is basically almost like a certificate of completion is what it is, sort of, like a diploma, whatever you want to call it. But of course, there's religious and personal connotations. It's a huge thing.
It's a big thing. So it almost sounds like, I get a certificate of completion. But like, no, it's like a big ding deal.
It is a big deal. And the beauty of it is that when the church is right there, so a lot of times there are masses. And if you get a chance and look it up on YouTube just to look at the mass, It's just a really, I think, if you're religious, if you're Catholic, especially, that is a beautiful way to acknowledge your Catholicism. Any religion, or just a beautiful way to acknowledge yourself as part of a community. You'll meet people. You'll find other people that are hiking. You'll encourage yourself, encourage other people. I think it just makes a great community. There's so much culture along the way. You're going to be running through smaller towns, smaller places that you may never have stopped at or visited. You may meet people along the way. I think it's just a great sense of community to be able to do this.
Well, and then to know, again, bringing it back to San Antonio, that you can get credit by doing that portion here stateside, which is, I just think that is so cool that it's been recognized. Most people don't really know that San Antonio is like the 7th largest city in America, because when you're here, you don't feel like this is the 7th largest city in America.
Right.
But we are, and then to be recognized in these ways, one with the UNESCO site, two with this connection with the Camino, it's pretty cool.
It's very cool. And so when you're doing the Camino, if you don't have time to do all of it, what the church has said is that if you do 100 kilometers by foot, without any, you can break, but what I'm saying is it's got to be 100 kilometers before you get to the end. If you can complete that by foot, 100 kilometers, or 200 kilometers if you're doing it by bike, then that will qualify you for the Compostela. You'll still have your little accreditation passport, and you get it stamped, but you've only done 100 kilometers, okay, 100 kilometers. The San Antonio way, the Camino de San Antonio missions, basically is aligned with Camino Ingles. Remember, we talked about the one where they were coming in from England and starting at Farrell. If you start from Farrell is approximately 70 kilometers from St. James. So you do the San Antonio part for 30 kilometers, and then you can do the remaining 70 from Farrell, get to St. James, and that's your minimum 100 kilometers to qualify for your Compostela.
Pretty good deal.
Pretty good deal.
Not that it's a deal to be had, but it's a pretty good deal.
No, it's great.
Like if you don't think that you can walk, 30 days of hiking, right?
Right.
It's a nice option because, again, the whole thing behind this is the religious aspect of it, because you're pilgrimaging to a church, right? But it's a nice way that with all these different, because there's so many different routes, and some are harder than others, some are you have more elevation gain than others, and those are just things that you would check out as you needed to. But it's nice to know that you can get a shorter version route.
Yeah, and you can do that. And if you decide that you're going to do that, though, you need to make sure that you're registering along the way for everything that you want to get credit for. You're going to go to the El Camino de San Antonio Missions website, and there's a place there where you can actually register for your Compostela, and that's the one that you would take, and then you would register on the actual Caminos website, the real Camino, the large Camino. You'd register there using whatever it is that they ask for you there, and then they have they know that there's a route outside. You're going to take all your stuff from here and take it, and that will qualify you for those 30 kilometers.
Yeah, and it's really important on that website because there's one portion might say you can bike, hike, or drive.
Or take a bus.
To these different stopping points, which would be basically the missions on the way up to San Fernando. But to actually get credit, there's no driving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. The driving is not going to qualify you. It's got to be walking.
Yeah.
Now, again, the beauty with the San Antonio Camino, as it is over there, is that you don't have to do it all in one hit. Mm-hmm. You can do, because the Camino from San Antonio, the San Antonio Mission Camino, is basically approximately 19 to 20 miles. Mm-hmm. You're going to go from the first mission, which Espada probably is the one south, and then you're going to end at San Fernando. Okay, so it is a long walk. You can go from north to south or south to north, but you don't have to do it all in one day. You will
go south to north.
Yeah, I think south to north is probably the best.
That way you end at the cathedral.
Yeah, you end at the cathedral. But you're going to have your little passport. You get these at the Pilgrimage Center. There's a nice little map on the back. But this is what you take to each church, and each church is going to have a station where you can stamp. And so if you go to the first two churches, do your hike there, and then you stop because you're tired, it's hot, you want to come back, you come back, and you do the rest starting from that church.
Yeah, and the thing I would say too is that at the Pilgrimage Center, they really have a lot of cool information in touchscreen reader boards and things to read about the trail and just kind of the history and stuff behind it. One of the displays they had, I don't know if you spent much time looking at it, but it was all the different types of rosary beads.
Oh yeah,
Kind of rosary beads. I call them rosary beads, but they weren't all called rosary beads. But
Right.
based on your religion and how beads were the thing that people used, it was a great display to show the different types.
They actually had a center where little kids, I don't know if you'd have to buy it,
Yeah,
the
I
kit
don't
or
know.
whatever, but they had a little section with tables where you could, like the kids could sit down and make like a little rope of beads, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and then they had a film there. They had a little snack shop, and they had a little gift shop. Because
Yeah.
we're sporting our
Gift shop.
gift shop T-shirts.
And that's where you get your little pilgrim passport.
Yeah.
The pilgrim passport for here in San Antonio is $10. You get the passport and a little keychain that basically says, I think, the Camino de San Antonio missions. And the reason that there's shells on our shirts and also on the keychain is because that is the symbol of the Camino.
Important.
Important. You'll see that. I've got a picture of one in our blog, and a lot of the signage as you're walking those trails will have a picture of a shell, and that's how you know you're going in the right direction. So that's what the shells are about. But the store has a lot of nice little things. I thought the stuff was a little expensive, but then she told us that the money from that was going back into supporting the pilgrimage. So it's all for a good cause.
I said, load me up. I bought stuff I
I
didn't
did
need.
not say load me up. I bought a couple of things, but it's going for a good cause.
That's right.
And it's a nice little place. There's an area to sit down and the little snack bar, like you said, like pick up some munchies.
Yeah, they have like sandwiches and muffins and chips and just
Wraps,
snacky
like,
food.
yeah, something good there. And outside, there's a little shaded area with some picnic tables outside too. So if you are doing the Camino and you're doing that pilgrimage, it's certainly a nice place to stop.
Yeah, because if you're going to Mission Concepcion, you're already there. You
Right.
just have to walk kind of behind and you'll see it. So,
Right.
yeah, but definitely worth it.
Most definitely, and I'm really excited because it's still a goal of mine. My ankles got to get working better, and my hips, all that stuff's gotta line up a little bit better.
Then she's going to be a chick with her hiking sticks.
And then one day, that's right. I'm going to take my hiking sticks and I'm going to go do that walk. That is one of
everybody
my
step back.
goals. That's right.
Because we all have to have our goals in life.
That's right. And hey, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I might do the San Antonio one. That might be as far as I get.
I
but
definitely want to do the San Antonio one. I think that'll be fun.
I would do that like in January.
Yeah, sometime cooler. Again, I know we talked about it on our last podcast, but if you're doing these things in the summer, you're definitely, I don't think you're going to want to do a full 19, 20 miles in the summer.
Heck no.
Yeah. But if you are going to do even just a couple in the summer, we're not kidding when we say bring water, sunscreen, yes, a hat,
White brimmed hat.
some lip balm, something to keep your lips from chapping because you're going to be drinking a lot of water, and if you don't, you're going to feel it right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably better to do these things in the
our
off seasons,
cooler months.
in our cooler months, and definitely a hiking stick.
Oh yeah, because
You know?
you can do all sorts of things with your hiking sticks.
Well, and I think I don't know about you, but I started
Uh-oh.
using hiking sticks, even on like simple trails like the Beltway. On that, I usually only use one on the Beltway, but I don't like
I can't do
to.
that because I'm uneven.
Are you?
I can't do just one stick.
God, you're so.
I don't
anal.
understand people who could use one stick.
You're so anal. You don't.
You gotta
need,
be.
You no. You don't. You don't. Oh my God. So anyway, but you burn more calories when you're using hiking sticks.
And when I use two, I burn
And
more.
she burns more, yes. So yes, you burn more calories with your hiking sticks. It also relieves pressure on your knees, and your hips when you're using hiking sticks.
You know what else it does? Because you ever notice that when you hike, because your blood's going down to your hands and then you get pudgy sausage fingers?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It helps on the sausage fingers.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Because it keeps your blood up here.
That's right.
Instead of swinging down there.
That's right. That's right.
We're not going cheek to cheek.
That's right. And, yeah. And the other thing.
And another thing.
We were talking about this earlier. We were talking about on the blog. There is a section where you can download some downloadable checklists.
You can download the downloadables.
You download the downloadables.
You heard it here first.
There's hiking checklists for short hikes, city hikes, and then longer hikes. And Susan,
Call me out.
yeah, I'm gonna call you out, man. She's like, I never take that stuff with me. I'm like, don't you know? You hike all the time.
She was schooling me on what I take on my hiking treks.
Because even the paved trails, okay? Even the paved trails, sometimes you've got the trail that's like straight and then it bumps off at the end. All it takes is you not paying attention for 1 second to roll your ankle off that side. And then what happens? Because I've been with someone when this has happened, and you're 1.5 miles into a 3-mile hike. What happens then? You're going to have to walk out. If you walk out and you don't have a hiking stick with you, then it's stuck on your friend to carry your butt out.
Damn it.
Okay? But if you hike alone, which I tend to hike alone a lot, you at least have a stick or two to relieve some of that pressure off your ankle as you're walking out.
Yeah.
So, I know that we're using it because it's part of our name, but I really do believe that a hiking stick is a very important piece of your equipment.
It's a rare occasion that I don't take my hiking sticks. And I know it makes everybody have to pause when we're checking our gear before we get out on the trail. But I'm like, I got to make sure it's the right height. Got to make sure I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to that trouble. Now, I may not put every single thing in my hiking bag, but I put necessaries.
Good.
I got snacks.
Good. The snacks are necessary.
Because we always have to have our snack check.
That's right. So, let's see. I think I did want to mention that. If you've been on the Camino, please can you put some comments down and let us know how it went, what you enjoyed about it, why you went. Why was it a pilgrimage? Were you just going for the scenery? Was it just a goal of yours, something that you saw and you thought this would be great to try? Because I would love to hear about that personally. I really would. And then, there's a little button on the bottom right-hand corner of our videos where you could click it and subscribe. And we would really appreciate any subscriptions since we're just trying to build up our audience now.
We're just two chicks with hiking
That's
sticks,
right.
being real peoples.
That's right.
Doing real things.
Really love that. We'd love a thumbs up. And if you're interested in knowing when our next podcast is going to come out, then ring that little bell thingy there.
Don't say that.
No, I didn't say that. Just, hit that notification button, okay? That's it.
So we can ring your bell.
No. We're not going there. You went there, but I'm not going there. I'm not doing it.
The door opened up. Okay, I think we're about done.
All right. We are about done. So don't forget, you're going to hike your own hike.
Hike your own hike.
Take your sticks.
Take your sticks and read the checklist and take it. Don't do a Susie.
Yeah, don't do a Susie. All right, and then we'll see you next time.
All right, check you later.
Bye.
Bye.